Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It's a great day to be alive. I feel so blessed to share this time with you. I have a great topic for today. Today, I want to talk to you about the problem of beating yourself up when you overeat. This is a big problem for people, and boy, oh boy, it just makes problems worse, doesn't it? Here we are overeating or binging, going way too far with whatever it is we started to eat, whatever it is we're going to have just one of, and boom, before you know it, all hell is broken loose and we are indulging to the point of feeling sick. Or maybe you don't go that far, but you eat more than you planned on and you feel terrible about losing control and going overboard. So what do you do about that? And I find that my clients are, when this happens, which it does as emotional eaters, definitely people make a wrong decision and go down the wrong road now and then. So what do you do about it? The self-flagellation that comes from overeating is almost as bad as overeating itself, isn't it? It's really bad. And so much of the time, people are afraid. They're afraid to even try because the self-flagellation of failing is so harsh, okay? And this is the problem that I notice with emotional eaters, is that they're so hard on themselves that they're afraid to even try, and so they end up giving up and not trying at all, which is not a solution either. That's not a good idea. So I really want to bring and bear some light on this and bring you some hope, okay, on what to do about this, because people are either not trying to eat clean at all because they're just feeling like they can't do it and they don't want to feel terrible about blowing it. And so they're like, screw it, I'm not going to try. Some people are trying to get over beating on themselves. They're like, Tricia, what can I do to just not have this feeling of self-hatred after I eat? And, how that's a solution. It's not about not overeating. It's about not beating myself up when I overeat. So that's another question that I hear at times. If only I didn't beat myself up. I want to go over this and help you through this. And first of all, I want to talk about the issue of beating yourself up. It's not a good idea. Obviously, it's not a good idea. It doesn't help. My husband told me many years ago, he's a spiritual healer, and he's the one who really helped me heal. That's the reason why I'm here, is because of the immense help I got from him and the education I got, because for 30 years we've been helping people with these problems of addiction, and especially emotional eating and food addiction. But he told me when I was brand new at this, and he said to me, and it was so enlightening, he said a couple things. He said, you can't beat yourself into flying, okay? He said, you can't beat yourself into flying, meaning beating yourself up is not going to make you do it any better. Has it helped you straighten up and fly right to beat yourself up? No, it never does. You just feel bad, and you feel bad, so bad, you beat yourself up some more with food. So the other thing that he told me when I was very early on and I had a slip and I was just kind of going to town with the sugar and the carbs and feeling terrible about it and so guilty I didn't even want to talk to him. I just wanted to hibernate. And he said, Tricia, he said, think of yourself like a little girl who's in the middle of a fast highway, the median in between both lanes of the highway, going one way, going the other, that median in between. Imagine seeing a little girl, a sweet little girl, sitting there, standing there and crying, terrified, because she's there in the middle of the median and she has no way to get out. There's cars whizzing by on either side. Would you go to that girl and beat her up? And the answer obviously is no. It's not what I would do. I would grab her and I would hold her so tight and I would whisper in her ear and I'd say, darling, I've got you. You're going to be okay. It's okay. You're safe now. That's what I would tell her. And his point was, of course, when I've been in that place, when you're in that place, is beating yourself up going to help? You are that little girl, right? That sweet little girl or boy who's standing there terrified out of her mind and feeling so afraid and so unsafe. And you would give her so much comfort, so much love. That's all you would give her. You wouldn't give her an ounce of recrimination because God knows she doesn't need that. That's us when we are in that terrible place of darkness around food. And it is dark, okay? Being an emotional eater and being heavy into the food and into binging and in being that terrible cycle where you've just lost control and then you've just given up, like you don't even try. That is such a dark place. And when we're in that place, what we need is love. We need love, not beatings. And so that's my first lesson is it's the opposite of what you need. Beating yourself up for what you did is the opposite of what you need. Now, I can say that, but obviously that doesn't necessarily make it happen, right? You can know that intellectually, but that isn't necessarily going to make you stop. It's not going to make you fly right to say, oh yeah, I'm that little girl, but maybe it'll help. Okay, I'm going to just suggest that to you. See yourself as that sweet little girl or boy and just give her a big hug and say it's okay. All right? Now, instead of beating yourself up, here's a better play. Learn from it. Use it as an opportunity to dig deeper. What am I doing that's causing me enough stress to feel like I need to stress eat or to feel like food is my solution? Or what am I not doing that's making me feel so stressed out that food seems like my only solution? We're either doing something that's causing us pain or we're not doing something and it's causing us to experience stress to the point of that breaking point. Okay, so learn from it. It's not about beating yourself up, and it's not about how do I stop beating myself up and just letting that be the end of the story. It's about learning from these situations and seeing that when we do binge, it's a result of actions we've taken or neglected to take. So the nice thing is you can turn this around by using it as a lesson, as a teaching tool for you. I don't believe binges just happen. I don't believe that cravings just happen. I believe that we act in such a way that causes us to feel bad about ourselves, and the result is overeating. Remember the PEP test? We're using food as a painkiller, as an escape, and as a form of punishment because of pain, fear, and guilt. Guess what? We need to dig into it. Where am I feeling pain? Where am I feeling fear? Where am I, and what am I feeling guilty about? Use it as an opportunity to go deeper. And when we do that, then we can learn and then we can make new choices. And I don't mean food choices about the way I'm living. Do I need to put some self-care in my life? Am I doing, and expecting to be free from food? Doesn't work that way. If I overdo, I overeat. End of story. If I overdo, I overeat. If I don't spend the first part of my day connecting with my higher power in prayer and meditation, if I don't do the writing that I need to do, if I don't reach out to other emotional eaters and connect at a heart level, if I'm not involved in Heal Your Hunger and commenting in the Facebook group and trying to be helpful to others, if I'm in isolation, if I'm trying to do everything on my own and I'm acting like I'm Superwoman, guess what? I'm going to overeat. Law of cause and effect. So use the overeating incident as a lesson. Look at what's going on. Look at your life. Look honestly at your life. This is not about saying, oh, I'm just not going to beat myself up. Go deeper than that. Say, how can I constructively look at this? Don't beat yourself up, but be honest about your life and how you got into the situation in the first place, because I promise you it didn't just happen. And when you learn that and you make changes and you say, okay, if I'm going to get different results, I'm going to have to take different actions, and take those actions. Reach out for help. Stop trying to do it alone. Make self-care an important part of your day. These are all choices that you have some control over. Go ahead and make those choices, and they will have a direct effect on your eating. Now, I want to talk about another aspect of this. Feeling bad when we overeat isn't necessarily a bad thing, okay? It's not a bad thing because it's a natural consequence of abuse, okay? So imagine if somebody who was an abuser. Imagine if somebody was abused, say a parent, going back to the parent-child analogy, imagine if a parent did beat their child and they felt terrible about it afterwards. They felt so much shame and guilt and remorse, which parents do, even if a parent isn't beating a child. Even when a parent yells at a child, obviously as parents, that feels so bad because you love your child. But you sometimes lose control and you can sometimes yell. Guess what? That feeling of shame around being mean to a child, that is a natural instinct. Okay? Like abusing a child feels bad. It just does. And I don't care who the person is, they feel bad. They might not act like it. They might be a rageaholic and they might not get remorseful, obvious, like ostensibly, and show a real display of remorse. But you can rest assured that person feels bad about that behavior. It's a natural thing. It's a God-given instinct that when we hurt people, we hurt. Okay? It hurts to hurt people. And so my point here is that hurting ourselves does hurt, okay? When we hurt ourselves, remember we're that little girl. When we beat on ourselves with food, when we beat ourselves up with food, when we eat crap, when we eat Doritos and chips and ice cream and cookies and cake and all those things that we know are not good for our bodies, when we gain weight from it, when we are causing inflammation in our bodies and we're causing health problems, guess what? That hurts. That hurts. It hurts to hurt ourselves. Trying to get out of the feeling of it hurting when we hurt ourselves or abuse ourselves with food, I don't know how to do that. Okay? I highly recommend you don't beat yourself up, but the instinct of having it hurt to do that to ourselves is a natural instinct, and it's actually something that can work in your favor. Okay? So don't think, how can I get it to stop hurting to hurt myself? Obviously, that's not going to work. Obviously, you want to think, how can I stop hurting myself? But my experience is it's natural to feel bad when you abuse yourself. And the reason why they can work in our favor is it can drive you to do something about it. And that's what happened for me. My binges were so violent, they were so self-abusive that I got tired of it. It hurt so much to binge. It hurt so much to eat sugar, pretending I was going to be able to handle it this time and going overboard, like for the umpteenth time. I got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore, and I was driven to a solution. I was driven to get help. I was driven to go to any lengths to change my life. I changed my life so that I wouldn't have to overeat anymore. I changed the way I interact with people. I changed my morning schedule. I changed everything. I started praying and meditating. I pulled out the stops when I learned what works. When I was shown a way of getting over emotional eating, I wanted it. But I was driven by the pain of overeating. So if you're looking for a way for it to not hurt, self-abuse hurts. And if you're looking to not feel bad about it, I hope you don't find that way. There are people in the world who don't feel it. They don't feel that it hurts, and they do it every day, and they could care less. Now, I don't believe that in their heart of hearts, they don't care. I believe that it's a God-given instinct to want to preserve ourselves and preserve our health and our sanity and our happiness. But if somebody is so unconscious from the self-abuse, where they're so loaded up on sugar and carbs that they feel apathetic about what they're doing themselves, well, they're just apathetic and they're not aware, and they might just keep on doing it. But if you can't get to that place where you don't care if you're 100 pounds overweight, if you do care that you're 100 pounds overweight or 50 pounds overweight or 20 pounds overweight, consider that a gift. Consider it a gift because it can drive you to a solution. It can drive you to make those tough choices, to rearrange your life in such a way that you're no longer tempted to overeat, to set boundaries with your family or with your friends or in your workplace. It can drive you to take all kinds of actions that, had you not cared, you would not take. So I feel extremely blessed that it hurt me so much to overeat. It hurt me so much. And to be honest, I hope that it hurts you to the point where you're driven to find a solution, where you're driven to reach out to me and to heal your hunger and grab a hold of what we offer here. I hope that you have enough pain that you say enough is enough, because that pain can be a blessing in your life. Okay, so that's my second point, is that if it hurts you to hurt yourself, consider yourself blessed. You're conscious enough that you're aware of what you're doing to yourself and it's hurting you. You're conscious enough that you feel the pain of self-abuse. You'd feel the pain if you abused a child. You'd feel that pain. Guess what? You are that small child. And if you're abusing yourself, it's going to hurt. And if you're aware of what you're doing to yourself and you're aware that you don't want to do that anymore, that is your threshold to freedom. Now, my next point is probably the most important. And that is that when we beat ourselves up for overeating, and I hope I've made clear already the difference between beating yourself up and inherently feeling bad when we do something to ourselves. Hope I've made that clear. There's a big difference. Don't beat yourself up, but don't be upset if it hurts you to hurt yourself. So my next point is that when we beat ourselves up for overeating, for losing control, for binging, for eating all the wrong foods, when we know better, when we beat ourselves up, what we're really doing is we're missing a very key piece of information. And that is that if you're an emotional eater or a food addict, you can't help yourself. Okay? You're powerless. I personally am powerless over food. And it is bigger than me. It's a true addiction for me. Sugar especially is a big addiction, but food in general. I have been addicted to food, where once I started eating certain foods, and I'm addicted to everything. I don't eat salads in massive quantities. I've had big salads, but I don't hoard a whole bunch of different kinds of lettuce and eat it in front of the television. But if you are addicted to food, it's because you don't have control. And when we beat ourselves up, it's because we're assuming we should have control. It's like, why did I do that? I know better. I shouldn't have done that. And we're shitting on ourselves all over the place. But we're doing it because we don't have a certain piece of information, which is that we cannot help ourselves. As emotional eaters, we are addicted. We are powerless. So when we lose control, it's not our fault. Okay? It's not your fault. You're not bad. You're not weak. Do you lack willpower? Yes. Should you have willpower? You can't. You can't have willpower because inherent in being an emotional eater is that you don't have that kind of power. That's why you lose control. And the sooner you accept that, when you may say, oh, how could I accept that I don't have any power? Then I'm just hopeless. Then I'm just for the rest of my life going to be consigned to eating all the time. And that's not true. Hopeless, yes, but there's hope. There's a way out, especially if you admit you can't do it yourself. So when we beat ourselves up, we're thinking that we have the power, that we can pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and pull ourselves out of the situation. That is not realizing what you have and what's going on here. What you have is an addiction. What you have here is a dependence that you can't break on your own. So beating yourself up for it, that doesn't make any sense. That's like beating up a diabetic for being diabetic. They can't help themselves. And if you have known an alcoholic, they can't help themselves. And the sooner they surrender to the fact that they're alcoholic and powerless over alcohol, the sooner they can get a solution. And the sooner you accept that it's not your fault, that your binging is a result of a very deep dependence that you can't break on your own. Now, that's not a depressing thing to admit to when there's a solution. And I will tell you, there is absolutely a solution for overcoming emotional eating. I'm living proof of it. All the people that I've been so blessed to be a part in helping, they're living proof of it. Like, you can be free from emotional eating. I seem normal around food. I eat. Nobody would know ever that I was an emotional eater, that I was addicted to food, because I eat normal amounts. I choose really healthy foods. I enjoy them. I'm satisfied when I'm done. I seem really normal. But that's only because I've admitted I don't have the power to not eat certain foods. And the reason why I'm not out there eating them right now is because I've accepted that and I've grabbed a hold of a solution. So that might seem wonky, my explaining that way, but surrender is the solution. Surrendering to the fact that I'm an emotional eater, surrendering to the fact that I need help, reaching out for that help, doing the things I do to get that help, those have all helped me become a normal looking eater. Okay, and I say normal looking because I still have the capacity to go back to where I came from and be a binger and be a terrible glutton with food. But if I do that, it's because I've forgotten that I'm powerless. It's because I've stopped reaching out for the tools and practicing the tools that help me seem like a normal eater, and I've just acted like I could do it on my own, which is forgetting that I'm powerless. When I acknowledge I'm powerless, you can bet I'm going to be praying and meditating every morning and asking for help, because I know that I can't do it on my own. But if I'm beating myself up over overeating, it's probably because I thought I was powerful, thought I could do it on my own, stopped doing my practices, and ended up in food. But beating myself up isn't the answer. Seeing where I have been trying to do it on my own would be the way I would play that. So it's a little tricky. I hope I'm making myself clear, but this is the key. If you lose control of food, it's not your fault. You're not bad. You do not deserve to be beaten up. You're not a lower or less than person than the person who does have control around food. It's simply a condition. It's a condition that needs treatment, and it needs attention, and it requires assistance. And that assistance is available. And that's the good news, is there's actually a way to overcome emotional eating. And you're not bad for needing help with it. What you need is a really big hug, a warm, sweet, loving embrace with somebody whispering in your ear, it's okay. You're good. You're safe. You're safe. And we're going to get out of this together. Thanks so much. I hope this has reached your heart, because that's what I'm speaking to. If you're ready to get off the dieting roller coaster ride and finally make peace with food and with your body, talk to a Heal Your Hunger mentor about what steps you need to take based on your own history with food and weight. Go to healyourhunger.com and register for an emotional eating breakthrough session and see how fast you can experience real change. It's a complimentary evaluation, but there are limited spots available. So go to healyourhunger.com and register to speak with a mentor today.